Hey everyone, welcome back to Coach Quip. I'm Coach Robyn.
I'm Coach Chris, and this is episode
148.
148. You know what? I'm going to leave that in.
I think you should.
Yeah, we're real people. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Episode 148, Summer Mistakes.
We're here.
I'm making mistakes, as you all heard about my run with the salad and no hydration. We're going to go through some
That
of our...
was ridiculous.
You know, it's humanizing.
Yeah.
It was
Coaches,
dehumanizing.
just like us.
Anyway, today we are going through some of our summer mistakes. We've got summer in full swing. The heat is on, and I feel like just there are so many opportunities to make mistakes, especially as people are picking up their training. We're on summer vacation for some people, which means a disruption in schedule too.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the biggest thing, for sure. It's the biggest thing. It's just a complete free fall.
Yeah, summers can be hectic. Travel, weddings, vacations.
Everything's crammed in.
Everything.
Yeah.
So
we asked our coaches. We have coach calls. They're fun. And we always have a topic. And a couple weeks ago, we asked our coaches, what are the biggest summer mistakes, or like what are the top of mind summer mistakes that you all see athletes make? And so we want to share those with you, including what the fix for them will be. And some of them are real fixable.
yeah, well, that's good news. All right.
First, we had Coach J-Ro, our registered dietitian. We know that she's going to say something related to eating and drinking, and it was indeed mistake of hydration or lack of it, right? The bottom line that she was talking about is it's summer months, it's hot, we sweat more, we're doing more, our skin is exposed more. It becomes much, much more important to basically have it down. So, when you have little blips or you don't quite do enough, it leads to much bigger issues than in the other seasons. So, how do we fix this? Do you have water right now? What do you have?
You know what? I have some electrolytes in here.
Oh, I don't.
Everybody, this is your opportunity to take a drink with us. I feel like you can't remind folks enough. You can't remind me enough. Take a drink of water with us. What's in your bottle?
I don't know, but I'll still drink it though. It's cool. I'll wash it later. Maybe some old element. I'm not sure. Unclear. It tastes fine to me. Yeah, so remember to hydrate. So the fixes on this one are really just to honestly plan it out. So 2 days prior, especially to your like more intense workouts or longer workouts, really dialing up. You don't need to drown yourself in fluids, but increase. For my athletes racing, I'll typically put a flag in starting 4 days before their race to up 10 to 20% day on day, starting on that day. And incorporating things like electrolytes. What do you use?
That's a great reminder. I have just been using Scratch lately.
Okay.
Scratch has an everyday hydration. They used to have this like wellness mix, and they switched it to a sugar-free everyday hydration. That is really good, and it's light flavor, but it has what I need.
We have a lot of people that use Element for sure, and you can make a packet go really far on that. Yeah. Noon, I know we have those here too. Those tend to, I think those are fun because they make things bubbly. Yeah. But there are all ways. You could even just oversalt your food and make sure that you have enough fluids going in. Kind of does the same thing. So it's very approachable. Of course, you're going to also hydrate during your sessions. So planning that out. I know in my house tonight, Brian will do long run tomorrow. He will set out his water bottle and he has Morton and salt tabs. So he will set it out and preload everything in so that it's ready to go. He just fills it in the morning. And then of course after, rehydrating. What does that look like, right? This is where I probably fail the hardest because I just go straight into something else. But I find that if I like chug a Gatorade or have ice water, especially something really cold that I'm excited about drinking, I'm a lot more likely to start to replenish those lost fluids.
Yeah, I find that I get water exhausted.
I do too.
And I know that I need more hydration, so like it can be a constant reminder, but seltzer water is a go-to, or adding in some sort of flavor like lemon or lime to be in the water is helpful for me.
Just make it exciting.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up is Coach Jace. Coach Jace said, Social stuff. So too many obligations, just too much going on. Summer is cramming a year of social events in 3 months, basically. So we just do too much of everything. It's eating, drinking, staying up late, overextending ourselves just with our schedule. So what's the fix for that? Well,
it's simple.
Pick and choose. I think that's the biggest piece of this, right? Is prioritizing what you want to do. We can't say yes to everything. And I think that's where we go wrong. It's saying yes to every opportunity that we have, not wanting to miss out on things. We have to be a little bit selective, especially when we have training. So, Brian has a long run tomorrow, and tonight is probably not the most social of nights if we want to nail our workout for the next day.
So we are adopting just starting early. So we are supposed to have a dinner tonight, and we have a choice between 5:45 and 8:45, and we're choosing the 5:45 so that we can get home and get to bed, right? So just starting those social obligations or doing afternoon stuff instead of evening stuff it's just a great way that you can fill your social cup, right? But not necessarily stay out super late.
Yeah, that's smart, and I feel like that takes a little bit of mind manipulation because we tend to think I don't know, early is like the retirement special.
No, I love supper. That's called supper.
Supper?
Yeah, we go for supper.
Yeah, I love that.
The other hack here that we didn't necessarily think about ahead of time, I'm going to put an NA plug on all of this. So tonight, I know where we're going. I've reviewed the menu. I know they have some really great non-alcoholic options. Yep. It isn't great to drink before your long stuff. I'm just going to say that. As much as I like, a glass of wine as the next person, you need to pick and choose that too. And when we are just overtly social, we tend to it's very accepted to just kind of intake copious amounts of alcohol without consequence. But if you're doing stuff, especially the night before something important, you have plenty of non-alcoholic options now that are honestly, they're just as good as the alcoholic options, and in some cases better. And you feel a hell of a lot better getting up.
Yeah, and shout out to everybody who has made that shift. I've seen a lot more people here talking about non-alcoholic options, planning NA runs and things like that. And I love that shift because it's just, it's normalizing having options.
Yeah.
Right?
I have an athlete right now that just hit 6 months, and they're not talking about it. They're doing it on the DL, I'm sure, until they reach the 1 year or something. And it's I'm so proud as a coach, but then I'm sort of damn, that's something. Yeah. It's another milestone, another way to measure success.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach Worm is next. If you know how he talks and how he writes, it's sort of similar to Coach Jace's, which I love, which is, just kind of saying yes to everything. You have to make choices. You can't say yes to everything and chase your goals, especially when you're chasing a goal. If you're looking to kind of maintain fitness and all of that, it is easier because you can plug, what you're doing in more easily. But if you're talking about needing to bang out a 15-mile long run, there are really only two options, which are 6 a.m. on Saturday or Sunday, right? And if you do it Sunday, more than likely you're doing it on your own. So, his fix to this one is really great though. With your loved ones and your friends and your family, be communicative with them. I'm chasing this goal. There's probably going to be a couple months where I can't do X, Y, and Z, so that they anticipate it, and then be decisive after that, right? So communicate and decide accordingly, and don't be afraid to tell people no and the why, right? I have no problem telling people no. I'm no. But I know a lot of people have hesitation with that, but I think that it really does go a long way when you say, I'm not doing this because I'm chasing this goal and I want to have a good experience and feel strong, and they'll be respectful of it.
Absolutely, they will rally around you, and that's a great way to get to expand your supportive community. And I also have athletes who feel like they have to be training for something all the time, so they have that excuse socially to so they actually use that as a strategy to be all right, I'm putting another marathon or Ironman on my race calendar so that I actually can be nope, sorry, I'm chasing this, I can't do that obligation.
And you can also send all of those people who support you to the Edge Cheer Zone.
That's right.
On October 14th at Halsted and Taylor.
That's right. It is a good time. All right, next up is Coach Ian.
This is my favorite one.
Is it?
Yeah, because he is so right about it.
He's so right, and it's kind of in the theme here. So we're seeing like just the quantity of options that we have, but Coach Ian's is overrunning with too many run clubs. And we have definitely seen the explosion of run clubs in the Chicago running community over the last several years. And, we get it. FOMO is real. Like, we want to be out there with our friends. We want to be going to the cool coffee shop and having a good time with our social runs. But if you're training for something, it's really important to stick to a plan. And a lot of times, if you have a quality run on Tuesday and Thursday and a long run on Saturday, fitting in 3 extra runs
it's hard.
On top of your regularly scheduled training or in place of your training might not help get you to the goals that you have. So, if you're following a plan, use that for your intensity and your long sessions and keep your totals the same for those recovery runs. So, it's okay to do some social stuff, but again, like the last 2, we have to pick and choose which ones those are going to be. And it won't be forever, right? You will go through your training cycle, you will race your race, and then you can dip into some of those social runs. We find that the run clubs and the social runs are really fantastic between those training cycles or in those recovery periods. And they very well can be slotted in as recovery runs, right? If it fits within your plan, but we just can't do it all.
All right, ever since Coach Ian brought this one up a couple of weeks ago, it's not only was he completely correct, but now I feel like because we're 4.5, almost 5 weeks into marathon training, we're seeing more and more of that happening. Mm-hmm. And it is really, really in our face. So we love run clubs. Don't get us wrong. It's great. I love that people are getting together, that they're running together, that we have all of this just social connection happening. I think it's really important, especially coming out of COVID when we're only kind of connecting digitally, to have that face-to-face. But it cannot be said enough that if you're following a plan and you have goals, please follow those plans on the key days. They do plug in really well on recovery days, and if you're working with a coach especially, they can help you kind of tile that in. A good example is I have an athlete that really wants to run on Tuesday mornings. It's an easy 3-mile run, and at the same time, we kind of need them to be able to run tempo that same day. Yep. But also looking at her overall plan, we know that we need her mileage to grow a little bit more than prior season because she nailed the prior season, and we know that she can do 10, 15% more. So what we've done is on Tuesdays, would not recommend this for everyone. On Tuesdays, we have her doing a double. We have her doing a Tuesday easy in the morning and then recovering, and then doing tempo in the afternoon or in the evening. And we've done it for 2 weeks as a test, and it seems to work pretty well. And we know that because she's now nailing her speed. She's taking Wednesdays as strength only, not super heavy, and is nailing her speed on Thursday. So that is a really great example of, not for everyone, but a way that we can kind of get creative and still check that social box and feel connected and still get into quality.
And that's a great example of running that easy run truly easy, because if that was dipping into a territory that it shouldn't be in, you would see the impact on that speed work later on. I had an athlete who wanted the social piece but didn't tell me about it, who ran their 18-mile long run and then did 3 extra miles with their club later on. And I mean, that conversation was
frank.
It was frank, and it was illuminating. We can find a strategic way to work that in, but that was just too much.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. We have FOMO. I totally understand. We see everything on social, especially if that's like our tribe. But if you're just going to need to have a little bit more refinement, a lot more refinement as you move through a season that has increased volume and intensity.
And especially when you get towards those peak weeks and you're inching towards race day, it's really important. All right, next up is Coach Shauna. This is such a Coach Shauna one too. It is dropping strength, and I agree with this 100%. I think one of the things that we see in the summer as our volume builds for running, swimming, and biking is that our time is very precious, and the first thing that we drop is strength and mobility.
Especially with our triathletes.
Especially, yes. Oh, I mean, there's so much to fit in, right?
Yep.
But this is really your insurance plan. This is to make sure that you are bulletproof in your body, that we are doing injury prevention as well as rehabilitation and getting better. So the strength component, is really, so many athletes consider the strength their secret weapon in terms of their performance. I think like a good example is Nikki Hiltz, who just broke the American record and is on their way to the Olympics, who really attributes so much of their success to dedicated regimen of strength training.
And I love how much they post about it too.
Yeah, yep.
Because it just demystifies what's actually going on.
Yeah, and I think that we are seeing that shift, in terms of like what's popular in different aspects of sport, that people are paying more attention to this. But the truth is, when the schedule hits the fan, right, the first thing that we drop are those sessions, because we think that the endurance piece is more important than the strength component.
Yep.
Which isn't necessarily true, and also a good reason, again, to work with the coach to figure out that balance of keeping that in. But the fix to this, one of your favorite things, saving a shower. Do your strength back to back. So for some of my athletes who are time crunched, I'll add on a 10-minute strength session at the end, and it's body weight, and it is, it's not the same as a 30-minute gym session by any means. It's not lifting heavy, but it is something to keep them on what they need to be doing, right? It's core focused, it's supporting their run strength. Something is better than nothing. And so the ways that we can fit that in, highly recommend that you keep the strength in there.
We also, like on Tuesday nights, I know we've got our strength starts at 5:45, ends at 6:30, and then roll straight into tempo. And we have options of, that aren't as hardcore for specifically the lower body, so that you can go and have a really great tempo run. Yep. And honestly, the bonus, I love it, especially during the winter, but you're already warmed up, right? Yes. You're just getting like a little bit more of an activation. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm up next. I feel like most people can kind of see this one coming, but it's under recovering. It's the same issue as strength, right? We're short on time, so it tends to be the thing that falls off. But I can't stress enough, fitness is only actualized through recovery phase. So whether that's, your cutback week truly being your cutback week, or you honoring the art of recovery to maximize your fitness gains, if we under recover, we will overtrain. Those go hand in hand. This does not need to be incredibly lengthy in time. It just needs to be deliberate, and you need to plan it out. Same rule, something's always better than nothing. So if my athlete trains and has to get on a plane but doesn't have time to do anything, throw on compression socks before you get on the plane, right? If they're traveling and they don't have access to anything, legs up the wall. If they're here and I know that they're going to be doing strength, and I know that they have, let's say a speed run in the morning, I'm going to write in an 8-minute ice bath. You have time for an 8 minutes ice bath, because here's the deal. You can shower right after. Yep. You're already going to shower, so that's only 8 more minutes of your time. And you know what? We'll make you a smoothie so that you can refuel too. So now you've already eaten dinner and showered and you've recovered. Check the box. So the other thing about under recovering is, and I know it's ironic with coming from us, but lack of sleep. I struggle this time of year in general. I'm very sensitive to daylight. I'm always up early, unfortunately for everybody. If it's light out, even with an eye mask, I'm up. But it also means that on the back end, it's hard for me to fall asleep when it's still light out. Yeah. And so I, for the most part in summer, have a pretty truncated sleep pattern. So just figuring out how you can sleep a little bit more, even 15 minutes more, is going to start to add up. It's our number one recovery tool. We can't say it enough. I don't care if it's you going to bed 15 minutes earlier or you taking a 30-minute nap. Figure out a way to fit that in to maximize your fitness gains and maybe offset that sleep.
Yeah, going back to our 5-minute fixes, right? Coach
Robyn,
I
love that one.
The best hack there. And I agree. I think one of the strategies that you gave in a past episode about scheduling in your recovery, like linking it up. So you're going to be working on the computer, put it in the boots, right? And it's in your calendar, and then you're going to do it. So scheduling those really intentionally is good. And if you're a person who needs to check the boxes green on Training Peaks, right? Like I have athletes that I will program in their recovery so that they have the box that they have to check, because they will not leave that box to go red. All right, next up is my tip, and this would be about, or mistake that I see is about clothing choices, and this is also...
Like when I saw you with the salad?
Yeah, like when you saw me wearing all black in the middle of the day.
It was like 95 pounds. It was terrible.
It was terrible, and also like I like all black clothing, and I have...
It's easy.
It's easy, and I have plenty of tank tops that are all black. And so the truth is, just in the summer, that's not my best clothing choice, right? And I see a lot of runners wearing poor clothing choices. So a couple of things here. Like, we know that when we warm up, we will get warmer. And in the times where, say, you're doing a morning run and it feels a little chilly, or you're not sure if you need the long sleeves, chances are you don't, right? Like, especially in the summer. So wearing layers if you do need that extra because you're chilly. But chances are in this weather, you're probably not going to make that mistake. It's more about the color, right? So choosing light colored clothing. And then just a little bonus thing here, wear sunscreen. This is the other thing, right? I am just recovering from a massive burn on my chest and side because I applied spray sunscreen in the wind.
Oh,
yeah,
that
pro
looks
tip.
amazing.
It is, yeah, it's pretty incredible. I was in the ice bath the other day, deeply embarrassed by how it looked, but I laid on my stomach to read a book, and then it all wiped off.
Oh yeah, it did.
And I flipped, and here we are. So definitely making sure that you are prepared for the weather in how you're dressed, and sunscreen as well.
I also love having just air on my skin.
Yeah.
So like for me, having, like flowy shorts versus like spandex that ride up high, or having a tank on so that my armpits can actually regulate my body temperature versus having something with sleeves makes a big, big, big difference.
Yeah. And arm sleeves are great if you need coverage, like you still want that flow, but you need sun coverage, or also if you were on the chillier side for whatever reason.
They're easy to peel off.
Easy
Pop
to
in
peel
your
off,
pocket.
yeah, exactly. Hats, visors, that sort of thing as well. Sunglasses. Wear your sunglasses.
If you find yourself running down the street 95 degrees with no hydration with a salad, please tag Coach Robyn.
Especially if you're wearing all black.
That's awesome. Okay, these were good answers. I love a round robin.
Yeah, I do too. We have all made these mistakes, but there are plenty of ways to fix them. And a lot of it is just about being deliberate. So many of the answers that we gave were about making choices, and you have to prioritize. So figure out what's important to you this summer and make your decisions accordingly. And maybe that's dinner at 5:30 and
see you there. Supper.
Thanks for listening to Coach Quip. Original music performed by Ment. Follow us online on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Edge Athlete Lounge. Our podcast lives in the blog section of our website. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and you can check out the show notes for additional ways to contact us. Ready, set, onward we go.